Okay. Good evening. Bonsoir tout le monde. Yes, it's a pleasure to be with everyone. We are so happy to see friends from Haiti, friends from all over the world. We're going to have a fantastic time together because we're here to celebrate a historic event in Haitian history. So on behalf of the Center for Faith, Reason, and Dialogue, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to our very first online forum entitled Bwa Kayiman and Haitian Memory and the Birth of Haiti. We are delighted to have you and our distinguished panelists. Bwa Kayiman is perhaps the most historic event in Haitian history. It is a place in northern Haiti, near the city of Cap-Haïtien, a walking distance from the suburb area called Plaine du Nord.
Recording in progress.
Where there exists one of the major annual pilgrimages associated with the Voodoo religion. It's called Bassin Saint-Jacques. Whenever I go to Haiti, it's my favorite place to go, Bassin Saint-Jacques. It's a fascinating place. So most people continue to use the Bwa Kayiman event as a source of inspiration to Haitian nationalism, also as a symbol of Black resistance to oppression. Today, this Monday, August 14, 2023 marks the 230 years of the historical event known as the Bwa Kayiman in Haitian history and the history of abolition and anti-colonialism. The Bwa Kayiman conference or ceremony initiated the insurrection associated with the Haitian Revolution, which began in 1791 and ended in 1804. According to both oral and written traditions, the Bwa Kayiman was a religious and political meeting, like I said before, that took place on the night of August 14, 1791, under the leadership of a revolutionary slave and religious leader named Desir. The significance of the Bwa Kayiman event is substantial for many reasons. First, at the Bwa Kayiman,
but we're not really calling essentially for the tool to be.
Can we mute ourselves, please? Thank you.
I should be clear that facial recognition or face surveillance is a uniquely dangerous technology.
It might be a scammer.
Can we mute our, are we asking everybody to mute yourself so you'll be able to hear our panelists and everyone else? Okay. So first, at the Bwa Kayiman event place, a group of enslaved Africans gathered to plan their freedom out of the system of slavery, chattel slavery. Second, they agreed upon, or they made a consensus to put an end to the colonial order in Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti. Third, they united because they believed in a common cause, the abolition of slavery and the political freedom of Saint-Domingue. Finally, this event led to the triumph of the Haitian Revolution. So the Bwa Kayiman event gave birth to the nation of Haiti. As I mentioned before, it was under the leadership of Dottie Boukman. Boukman was sold, he was born in the island of Jamaica and was sold to an English slaver who brought him to Saint-Domingue. He became a maroon and an influential leader in various slave plantations in the northern region. The maroon and religious leader entered the epic of the Haitian Revolution. The night he brought people together, a group of slave coachmen, to plan their freedom. Boukman served previously as a slave driver, then a coachman in the plantation of Clément in the northern region of the island. He was known as a charismatic leader, and he had an incredible influence on the various work communal gangs in the plantations. Not only was he deeply involved in the unfolding political events in Saint-Domingue, but he was also a central figure in starting what historians called the General Revolt of 1791. Like Francois Macandal, his forerunner, he was able to gain the trust of many slave communities and established a network of slave followers in Le Cap Français, a major city in northern Haiti. What historians told us, well, after they met on August 14, 1791, then on the 22nd, the slaves went forth to put slavery behind them. And all the tears slavery had caused, they burned more than 2,000 plantations, including 184 sugar plantations and 1,200 coffee plantations. So we are gathered today for this significant event. And it's my pleasure to introduce you our four distinguished panelists: Dr. Elizabeth McAlister, Dr. Paul Mocombe, Dr. Charlene Desir, Professor Emmanuel Stephane Laurent. In this conversation, the speakers will reflect upon and clarify four major issues: the history of the Bwa Kayiman event, the interpretation of the Bwa Kayiman event, the social memory of the Bwa Kayiman event, the current discourse or narrative about the Bwa Kayiman. I will ask each speaker 3 questions pertaining to their expertise or areas of research. So at this point, I'm going to introduce each one. Let me show you this slide. Yes, let me click share. Okay. Okay, so we're going to begin with Dr. Paul Mocombe. Dr. Paul Mocombe is a Haitian philosopher and sociologist, a former visiting professor of philosophy and sociology at Bethune-Cookman University. He is currently serving as an assistant professor of philosophy and sociology at West Virginia State University. He's also the president and CEO of the Mocombe Foundation. He's interested in the application of his theories of phenomenological structuralism, that's a long name, and consciousness field theory. Dr. Paul Mocombe is a prolific writer. This guy writes a book every month. I don't know how he does it. Some of his some of his works include Identity and Ideology in Haiti, Jesus in the Streets, Race Class Distinctions within Black Communities, Language Literacy in Post-Industrial Society. And he also writes a grammar book in Creole. Dr. Paul Mocombe and his wife live in Lauderhill, Florida. We're going to go to our next presenter, Dr. Elizabeth McAlister. Dr. Elizabeth McAlister is professor of religion and chair of African American Studies as well as Wesleyan University. Her research focuses on Afro-Caribbean religion, music, and restoring with a focus on Haiti. She is the author of Ra Ra, Voodoo, Power and Performance in Haiti and its Diaspora. This is a book that everybody should read before you die. I'm serious. It's a groundbreaking work. Seriously, it's a classic work. The book also comes with a CD published by University of California Press in 2002, which was part of her ethnographic work in Haiti on musical, religious, and political festival in Haiti. Her second book, Race, Nation, and Religion in the Americas, was published by Oxford University Press in 2004. And she co-edited this volume with Henry Goldsmith. The volume theorizes race and religion as linked constructs. Dr. McAlister has produced 3 compilations of Afro-Haitian religious music, Rhythms of Rapture, Angels in the Mirror, and Rara. The CD that accompanies her first book. Her current research focuses on relationships and spatial imaginings shared by American and Haitian evangelicals. Her public writing has appeared in CNN, Foreign Policy, Newsweek, in her efforts to make Afro-Caribbean religions and music better understood by the public. Dr. McAlister has written for the Washington Post, and she's been interviewed by Terry Gross, Fresh Air, and consulted for media projects such as CNN, Believers, Afro Pop, Worldwide, on public radio. And let's move to our third presenter. By the way, I really like this picture, Dr. Desir. You look like a goddess, you know, goddess as you leave. Okay, Dr. Charlene Desir is a professor of Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She's a Voodoo priestess or a Mambo, initiated in the Société Nagulaku at Jacmel, Haiti. She received her doctorate from Harvard University, and her research focuses on the spiritual and psychosocial acculturation of disenfranchised children in the US and Haiti. In addition, she co-founded TEN, right? TEN Global, an empowerment network focused on upliftment and spiritual liberation. She was also the 2012 president of Haitian Studies Association, and she's currently co-vice president of COSAMBA. This is the professional organization that focuses on the study of Haitian Voodoo. That's the only one in the world, as far as I know. Dr. Desir has worked as a healer, spiritual advisor, school psychology, K-12 school counselor, school administrator, and professor. She does it all. And our final presenter, let's see, here is Professor Emmanuel Stephane Laurent. Professor Emmanuel Laurent is a doctoral student in ethnology and heritage at Laval University, that's in Canada. He is the holder of a master's degree in history from the École Normale Supérieure, another master's degree in social anthropology from the Faculty of Ethnology of the State University of Haiti. He has a law degree from the Faculty of Law and of Port-au-Prince. He completed a research internship at the Interdisciplinary Center for Letters and Traditions at Laval University under the supervision of Professor Madeleine Pastellini, and he is certified in cultural engineering by the Martinique organization. Currently, he's a lecturer. He's a lecturer at the State University of Haiti.
Ah, mais ok. Pas de problème.
Where he teaches anthropology courses at the Faculty of Ethnology, Sociology at INAGE, at the Faculty of Law and Economics. And finally, and this is me, Dr. Lou, yes. So who am I? Okay, everybody calls me Dr. Lou. And I'm professor and chair of the English department at St. Jacinto College in Houston, Texas, before I taught at Indian River State College for 10 years in the great state of Florida. So I'm currently serving as the director of Center for Faith, Reason, and Dialogue. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody. Okay, so once again, I would like to ask our amazing audience to turn off your microphone. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, we're going to begin with questions. Okay. Now, the panelists have the freedom to express themselves in the language of their preference. Okay. English, Creole, then we will summarize for those who do not speak or English or whatsoever, okay? We don't want to put a burden on our panelists, although everybody speaks Creole, but they're free to do whatever they want. So I want to begin with Dr. Paul Mocombe. Dr. Paul Mocombe, from a sociological perspective, what is the significance of the Bwa Kayiman event and Haitian experience and culture? Qui sa Bwa Kayiman représente dans culture haïtienne, dans expérience haïtienne, Dr. Mocombe?
Thanks for having me. Merci, Lou. I'm glad to be here, brother. I'll go in between English and Creole, bro. When I'm in Haiti, I'm venu ici, I'm getting 6 ans. So long nan Lou gen des fois, and you know, training in English. So I'll go in between. I want to do 2 things. I want to look at the signification of Bwa Kayiman sociologically and philosophically in the Haitian community as we understand it at the lay level, how we interpret it for lay people. And then I want to look at it from an academic perspective, how I interpret Bwa Kayiman. Premier bagay, Bwa Kayiman pour tout Haïtien, especially si yo pas chrétien, parce que ou bien chrétien qui parle Bwa Kayiman mal, who even taken off from Pat Robertson, who after the earthquake in 2010, you'd hate the earthquake and the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman as a pact that we Haitians made with the devil. And so therefore, the denouement of the Haitian Revolution has an evil connotation from the perspective of those in power. Même chrétien haïtien, adopter même vision. C'est pas nous parce que vous-même c'est bon pour Jésus, yeah. So, bon grand Jésus. But you do have some Haitians who view Bwa Kayiman in the same light that people like evangelicals like Pat Robertson do, as the entire movement from 1791 and the culmination of Haiti as an independent state is a culmination of an evil process. And then you do have Haitians who want to celebrate Bwa Kayiman along the lines or in conjunction with how the history of Haiti is written. The history of Haiti is written from, again, there's two versions of Haitian history. You have the mulatto elite version of Haitian history in which the mulattoes play a significant role. And then there's also from that angle a celebration of Haitian Voodoo and the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman, in which they interject. There's some versions of Bwa Kayiman in which Cecile Fatima, son milatrice, who is embodied by Esli Freda or Esli Dantor, and kicks off the Haitian Revolution. But you also have the history of Bwa Kayiman, which may be Toussaint, Dessalines, so therefore the Creole Blacks were represented at Bwa Kayiman. And I don't want to take up too much time. I know we have other speakers. So for me, signification of Bwa Kayiman rests on the fact that it highlights the agential initiative of the Africans. Because what is missing in the history of Haiti, parce que ou gen milat yo ki ekri histoire Haiti, ou gen Creole yo ki ekri histoire Haiti, what is missing is the African perspective of the Haitian Revolution. Parce que intérêt africain yo pas même intérêt avec the Creole Blacks. So then McAlister who represented what I call an anti-dialectical approach to the Haitian Revolution. And what Bwa Kayiman signifies is that African voice in the start of the Haitian Revolution. It begins at Bwa Kayiman, but it doesn't end at Bwa Kayiman. And for part of the historical record, because Haitian history has been written from the perspective either of Creoles, Creole Blacks, Mulat, or whites, that African voice gets limited at Bwa Kayiman. And for us to be free as Haitians, we have to continue the signification of Bwa Kayiman, that African voice who was against both the interests of the Creole Blacks as well as the interests of the mulatto elites. This is Bwa Kayiman for me, from an academic perspective, represent is that African voice. And I'm not speaking in a postmodern or post-structural sense whatsoever. I'm still a strict methodological empiricist for that perspective. But we have to look at that voice and how that voice would evolve from 1791 to 1804.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mocombe. Okay, let's move on to Dr. McAlister. What does Bwa Kayiman mean to the Voodoo community in Haiti and the Haitian diaspora? Qu'est-ce que Bwa Kayiman veut dire pour communauté Voodoo là en Haïti ou bien dans diaspora haïtienne?
Bon, bonsoir tout le monde. C'est un gros honneur d'être invité à parler. I'll go back and forth a little bit. And j'aime te dire, professeur Celucien, m'ka moyen question ça un peu, mais vraiment expertise moi, c'est parce que moi t'ai fait un grand fouiller dans pensée protestant pour me comprendre qui gens est-ce que yo prend une histoire qui bien documentée. Par exemple, je recommande tout le monde, ça c'est en anglais, mais son livre par Laurent Dubois avec John Garrigus, liba ou toute source primaire, comme si une après l'autre, sous Bois Caiman. Alors, premier bagay qui j'aime publier, c'était par Antoine Dalmas sous Bwa Kayiman. Monsieur, c'était en français. Alors, lit pas en credible
You
source.
go hands-on, and I wanted to make sure your video was up.
Lit pas en credible source, because les préjugés, les racistes, ils sont colons. Alors, j'en l'écris sous Bwa Kayiman, font l'île à côté. Est-ce que vous comprenez? Mais livre ça, about toute source écrite, publiée sous Bwa Kayiman, from the première jusqu'à ce que, bon, il n'y a pas tout, non, mais il y a ça très plus important. But vraiment, ça m'a fait, c'était, on recherche sous narrative évangile fait. On va me parler de ça, je juste dit que l'autre source qui est très importante, c'est étude que Rachel Beauvoir-Dominique t'a fait ensemble avec Eddie Lubin. C'était un rapportage sous Bwa Kayiman selon méthodologie ni historique, ni d'histoire, ni ethnologie. Alors, il y a dans la zone, il y a fouillé, il y a joint plusieurs lacous qui sortent dans le même lignage, moun qui rassemblent dans non seulement première réunification, mais qui y a plusieurs rassemblages à la même semaine, 2 semaines de cela. Ils ont fait entretien avec un paquet de familles, un paquet de lacous, et ils ont sorti ça qui est vraiment intéressant. Ça, c'est Rachel qui va moins longtemps, mais qu'on y a publié ou qu'on a joint sur Amazon, sur Google, soit dans Amazon ou Google Rachel Beauvoir-Dominique, Bwa Kayiman, ou à joindre livre publié que l'y fait. So, vraiment, ça que Dr. Mocombe dit, c'est vraiment vrai que ces histoires sont paquet de bagailles très intéressantes. Il y a très peu de voix africaines là-dedans. Very few African perspectives are represented in this written history. Rachel Beauvoir and Eddie Lubin put much more ethnographic interviews, but from the descendants of the people. So still not the African source, but there are African sources written by Robin Law and others. But I wonder, Professor Celucien, whether you want to go around the clock and come back to me when we talk about the Protestants. But I will say that yesterday, no, c'était samedi, moi j'ai assisté comme audience member et dans Prospect Park, en société, c'est Grand Bois avec Mami Jo Mazaka, avec Papa Jean Francillon, serviteur Voodoo. Ils ont fait une cérémonie dans Prospect Park pour célébrer Bwa Kayiman. Ils ont salué toute loyaux normalement. It was beautiful, very successful. They've been doing it for 30 years. It would be worth, if you want to come to New York and you're looking for a reason to go and a time of year to go, next year, the weekend nearest to, of course, August 14th is when they do it. And it's a spectacular occasion. And P.S., 2 drummers were playing who just arrived from Bel Air, Port-au-Prince, 2 weeks ago. And so were some drummers who've been in New York for a very long time. So it was musically world-class drummers. So it means a great deal to the Haitian community in Brooklyn, but comme si m'pa représente Mounsayo, m'pito pa parler pour Mounsayo, but I can say that if you go on Facebook and look up Grand Bois, you can find lots of pictures of that event. But why don't you circle back to me when we're talking about the latest myth-making about Bwa Kayiman, because I found some very interesting things.
And you have written about that, so.
Yes.
A signature article. Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
We come back to you. Okay, so to complement what Dr. McAlister has said, I posted on the chat a link to some references for those of you who have an interest to investigate the subject matter, this is over like 30 sources published on the website of Haiti Then and Now WordPress, okay? Nous capables de trouver des ressources, documents sur l'événement Bwa Kayiman qui est publié sur le site Haiti Then Now. Okay, so we're going to move on to Dr. Desir. Now, this is an interesting, Dr. Desir is a Haitian mambo. She's a scholar. So she's able to give us some interesting perspective. So I'm going to ask her this same question, right? So it goes like this. As a practicing vaudouisant et mambo, qui sa Bwa Kayiman representé for the Voodoo community in Haiti and the Haitian diaspora?
Well, I first would like to call and invite all the genders and the children that risk their lives and their blood for our liberation. I call on our collective ancestors that are on this conversation, that we come in unification together. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Momo Cecile Fatima. You know, when we think about Bwa Kayiman, it was the Congress of Santa Barbara. It was an assembly that took almost 300 years in the making. And she was the forefront. Mocombe came and gave the speech, and she honored the space. And some of us think of it as Bwa Kayiman, which is celebrated for her. So Cecile Fatima, you know, was central, if not centered, in this celebration of our liberation, the beginning of it. So when I think about what this means, for me, I study Voodoo epistemology. What is the epistemology of Haitian people? What is our epistemology? And it comes to a root. If you are Haitian, pretty much someone in your bloodline was very much aware of colonization and the magnitude of what it was during that time. And for 300 years, the consciousness of liberation rose up. And it was a Pan-African struggle. So when we think about calling me vaudouisant is one thing, but calling me a child of liberation in the Americas is something else. So I think that we have to be very aware of what we're talking about. Division is the greatest tool to dismantle the identity and the spirit of people. So it is not ironic that we have this conversation now as we reflect on Haiti as space, as we reflect on the attack of Pan-African people around the globe. So I think for this, Bwa Kayiman is a seed. It was the seed that was planted in the consciousness of all people around the world for liberation, particularly those of African descent in the Americas. And thereafter, the liberation and communion of all those who are enslaved mentally, physically, or spiritually. We still remain that symbol. What it means to us as Haitians, for me, every Haitian has a voodoo consciousness, whether acknowledged, agreed upon, or surrendered to. We have a consciousness of what we are. Something that our ancestors gifted us with the language of Creole. They gifted us with the understanding of a system called Voodoo, not a religion, a system of how we are supposed to survive the most brutal things that has happened to them. And we created the understanding, the framework of liberation around the world. So for me, as I think of the evolution of who we are as a world people, Haiti becomes central. Bwa Kayiman, the Congress of Santa Barbara, becomes central. And it was a consciousness that no one sat down. When a child was born, wasn't born into slavery. You were born to fight for the liberation of us all. And that's what we did. That's what we continue to do. And that is what we struggle for in defense of liberation for all. So, you know, for this, we must understand that it is time for a Pan-African movement to come back to center. It is time for people to look Haiti and know that it was the seed. It was the seed. Before anywhere else, the first slave landed on this island, and they were forced to create a consciousness of collaboration, a laku, of understanding. So when we talk about this, it should vibrate in every Black person's soul on this planet. And we must understand that our identity, our spirituality is that of liberation.
All right. Simtelek doesn't have the amen ou bien
Aibobo.
Man, okay. Woo. I'm sure. There we go. Okay, Professor Laurent. Professor Laurent Escola. Côté Professeur Laurent. Pas Professeur Laurent, non? Ok. D'accord. Ok, Professeur Laurent. Bon, our next question, notre question Laurent, on va adresser avec Professeur Laurent. Et le professeur Laurent finit répondre question, ça me parle demander Dr. McAlister pour qu'il commente ça, fait ça parce que il écrit sous sujet ça tout. OK? Professeur Laurent, pouvez-vous établir les différences et les similitudes dans la manière dont les évangéliques et protestants haïtiens et les vaudouisants ont interprété l'événement de Bwa Kayiman dans l'histoire haïtienne ou la société haïtienne contemporaine? The question is, can you establish the differences, okay, and similarities, the way evangelical Christians and vaudouisants have interpreted the Bwa Kayiman in Haitian history?
OK. Et je ne sais pas en quelle langue je dois m'exprimer, en français ou en créole.
Parlez créole.
Parlez créole. Très bien, super, merci beaucoup. Et bon, je salue tout le monde. Ma première, c'est Dr. Celucien Joseph dans cette invitation. Un remerciement spécial avec professeur Mozart Jean-Fion qui n'est pas là, mais qui était fait choix de moi. Et je voudrais saluer particulièrement professeur Elisabeth McAlister que moi j'ai rencontré. Je fait maîtrise en anthroposociologie, dans la faculté d'ethnologie. Je ne me rappelle si c'est en 2013 ou 2014, mais scolarité c'était 2013-2015. Et moi, de l'autre collègue là, comme le professeur Camille, le professeur Ampidus Clomis. En fait, par rapport à la question posée, alors, j'aime te préparer un exposé, mais faire exposé, et peut-être que je vais retourner sur la question, ça, si vous permettez ça.
Non, pas un problème, non? On va retourner après ça.
On va retourner après sur la question, Jean, ou tu veux faire là. Alors, oui, objectif, moi, fondamentalement, dans le panel, ça, c'est montrer que il y a trois versions. Alors, sujet d'intervention, c'est trois versions de mythe fondateur, ça, qui est les Bwa Kayiman. C'est sur ça que je devrais intervenir particulièrement et par rapport avec l'autre intervenant. Et pour un paquet haïtien, pour millions haïtiens qui passaient l'école, qui étaient étudiés l'histoire, l'école, si vous mettez en question ces cérémonies Bwa Kayiman, ces cérémonies Bwa Kayiman sont mythes, vous trouvez ça choquant et vous même trouvez ça insultant. Pour vos vaudouisants, si vous dites que Bwa Kayiman sont mythes, vous trouvez ça indignant. Moi, je invite à me faire causerie déjà pour des vaudouisants. Côté, je m'a parlé de trois versions de Bwa Kayiman comme mythe. Moi, j'étais vraiment très fâché. C'est comme si moi, j'étais en position anti-nationale. Ils ont accusé moi, c'est sur l'Occident. M'étudier dans la caille blanc, m'a répété ça blanc. Et dit pour me faire blanc plaisir, mais c'est pas objectivement, c'est pas ça intention du tout. Donc, intervention aujourd'hui, dans le panel, ça, je ne pas pour me tourner sur, je ne vais pas faire débat sur date, sur côté, Bwa Kayiman fait ou pas, c'est pas sens intervention, non. C'est à présenter trois versions de mythe fondateur, ça, mais à partir de références textuelles. Ça ne veut pas dire que c'est seule référence textuelle, ça, que je choisis, mais je ne sais pas combien de temps je gagne. Je suppose que je gagne 10 ou 15 minutes, je ne sais pas.
Non, non, songez, professeur, nous avons trois différentes questions, c'est-à-dire que résumer trois médias d'interprétation générale, nous allons retourner à... Donc, vraiment, yeah.
Mais au moins 5 minutes encore, au moins 5 minutes encore, au moins.
Non, pour 2 minutes encore. Là, pour retourner,
Ah.
la des chances de retourner.
C'est moi qui fais oublier mon chronomètre. Donc, c'est ça, tenter rapidement trois versions, ça va à partir de sources textuelles, d'accord? Et puis comprendre une fonction identitaire que MITSA, mi fondateur, ça a joué la caille peuple haïtien. Donc, très rapidement, par contre, ça va vous faire exercice en 2 minutes. Qu'est-ce qui ont mythe fondateur? Si il y a parlé de mythe fondateur, que les mythes de fondation, c'est un mythe qui expliquait, et c'est expliqué origine en religion, on cite un pays ou une nation. D'accord? Ou bien parmi mythes anciens, ou bien mythes Romulus à Rome, ou bien mythes d'hérité à Athènes, pour mythes modernes, ou bien Vercingétorix, et c'est un mythe lié à la caille française, on a expliqué qualité française, ou bien Jeanne d'Arc, et ou bien mythe fondateur aux États-Unis, les colons anglais ont traversé la mer, puis ils ont vers la terre promise, et puis ils ont chassé indigènes. Nous-mêmes, là, quand nous en Haïti, nous avons au moins 3 versions de cérémonie Bwa Kayiman. Et ma référence textuelle là. En première version qui dit que Bwa Kayiman que nous joignons à partir de J.C. Saint-Ville, dans la d'histoire d'Haïti pour Prince Haïti, pour que des frais de l'institution chrétienne 1934, pas 70-79, qui dit Bwa Kayiman, c'est le qui était à la tête. Il était accompagné de mon beau qui est Cécile Fatima, d'accord? Et tu as l'orage, tu as vent qui t'a vanté, esclaves étaient terrifiés, bon coach qui a passé par là, ils prennent l'encoup, ils sacrifient et puis ils distribuent et sans assistance, ils font jurer qu'il y a une bataille jusqu'à ce moment. Ça, c'est son première version. En deuxième version qui dit que c'est pas un cochon qui a été sacrifié, qui a été sang, mais c'était un monde qui a été réduit en esclavage, qui était les Jean-Baptiste Vixamar, le grand, qui était possédé pour un roi, qui est Dambala, et qui était offert tête en sacrifice, qui était baïsan. Version ça, vous venez avec M. Foucault-Guignard dans la légende des rois du Voodoo haïtien, livre publié en 93, mais mon dernière version de 2004, en page 9 à 12. Et puis, mon dernière version, qui est par Bwa Kayiman, c'était une cérémonie musulmane de Voodoo. On version de Jean-Claude Chérubin qui écrit un texte de confesse que publié qui est pour sortir de l'impasse, retour au sud de la religiosité haïtienne, la cérémonie Bwa Kayiman, l'acte de la semaine Jacoumain, qui est publié dans l'édition de l'Université d'État d'Haïti en 2007, dans page 87 à 104. Donc, en conclusion, parce que je n'ai pas vraiment pas un peu de temps, donc, je présente nous pour seulement mythe fondateur ça, je montre nous qu'il y a 3 versions et il y a des références textuelles. Et le fait que nous dit que c'est un mythe, ça ne veut pas dire que il n'est pas ni sensible pour Haïtiens, ni pas important pour Haïtiens, parce que j'aimerais faire un petit cadre aller. Ça prouve tout simplement que les Haïtiens sont faits parmi tout le peuple, ils font partie de l'humanité et qu'ils sont homo-religieux, c'est-à-dire que c'est un être fondamentalement religieux et même mythogène, il est propre à inventer des mythes. Merci. Donc, M. Bosé,
Alors,
OK. Yes.
Alors,
Okay. Hello?
alors, oui, excusez-moi, docteur Celucien, madame qui fait que sorti présenter ça. Est-ce que vous êtes capable de reprendre pour moi deuxième version de Jean-Baptiste Vixamar? Est-ce que vous êtes capable de
Oui, Willy, m'parle by your summary, OK? Just a minute, OK. Et puis, dans Q&A, n'a pas opportunité pour nous poser des questions. OK, let me try to summarize what Professor Emmanuel articulated about the Bwa Kayiman event. He uses the term myth, the concept of myth. he says that there are three versions, three main interpretations of the Bwa Kayiman event, and he provided some key texts for people who are interested to do further investigation on the subject matter. The first version says there was a pig that was sacrificed on the night of August 14, 1791. The second myth, uses the term myth or version, states that no, it was not a pig. He was a slave by the name of Jean-Baptiste le Grand, who sacrificially gave himself up as the atonement, to use Christian language, atonement, that means sacrifice, right? The third one, the third interpretation or myth states that the Bwa Kayiman event was a blend of Islamic, right? Muslim and Voodoo combined together. Okay? There we go. So, Dr. McAlister has written prolifically on the subject matter, a signature article on this problem and on the interpretation of the Bwa Kayiman event, but she studies the Protestant evangelical, Haitian evangelicals' interpretation of the Bwa Kayiman. Dr. McAlister, you can go ahead and comment and tell us the other side of what the other side of the spectrum believes.
Thank you. And thank you, Professeur Laurent, parce que ça t'est vraiment magistérielle condensation des trois hypothèses, trois versions, trois mythologies nationalistes de Bwa Kayiman. Ou fait rapidement, mais effectivement, m'espérez qu'a fait mon bagay là. So I want to make it very clear, I'm an ethnologue, a scholar, and I do not subscribe to the evangelical form of myth-making or narrative that evangelicals have constructed. I look at the historical and ethnographic texts, I see it, I see what's there, and I do not endorse this particular form of myth-making. But what happened is that, to the deep background, is that t'es un mouvement qui est la troisième vague, third wave, or new apostolic reformation, nouvelle réformation apostolique, or some people call it the spiritual mapping movement, ou fait code spirituel. For these neo-evangelicals in these movements, it's a very stark worldview and epistemology, wherein if a spiritual force is not of Jesus, if it is not the Holy Spirit, it is demonic. There's nothing in between. Pas gen ange, pas gen force ancestrale, c'est soit Jésus-Christ ou bien diable. So they began to get very agitated when under the second Aristide presidency, Aristide began to invite un grand mambo to the Palais National. Li invite moun yo, li te besoin incorporer moun sa yo nan civil society. Li te premier président pour engager secteur sa, vraiment. The Protestants saw this as a big threat, and Monsieur te même fait en commémoration Bwa Kayiman nan Nord. So, protestants yo interprété ça comme un nouvel contrat avec Diabla, un nouvel contrat avec les démons. So what happened was I traced this thinking to, and it's a very complicated thing, but to break it down very simply, there's a white Christian missionary who worked in the North for many years. He then went back to the United States and got his degree from a Bible school in Kentucky. His name was, what was his name? Taylor, I believe. And he applies the spiritual mapping theology to the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman, where it kind of goes like this. Along this theology, the enslaved Africans were in a terrible position. The French were doing sin against them. The enslaved Africans had to get free. So the evangelicals recognized that. But in the logic of the 10 Commandments, you cannot be an idol worshiper. So in order to get free, say the evangelicals, they had to create a blood sacrifice and make an alliance with these spiritual entities. And they either wittingly or unwittingly, yo conscient de ça ou bien yo pas réaliser ça, yo pas rendre yo compte ça, mais yo fait un pacte avec Satan. Nan Bwa Kayiman, nan moment Bwa Kayiman. Alors, yo pensez que, selon la loi biblique, yo font pacte avec Satan qui fait que Haïti te ka libéré. And c'est, yo gon paquet bagay, yo pensez que pacte ça, c'est yo qui défait pacte ça avec on sait de réveil, on sait de cérémonie chrétienne. And it comes from this interrelationship between white evangelicals who funded Haitian pastors and Haitian missions. The white evangelicals tended to be Republican, and they tended to come from the US Bible Belt. Ça nous est zone biblique, zone que tout mon évangile dans sud aux États-Unis. So they say that they need to help Haitians liberate Haiti from Satan, and that this time they will finally be free. So dans l'article ça que me fait là, et m'a mette dans le chat là, yo dit que c'était un narratif de captivité. So yo ouais que Haïtien besoin de liberté. Même Dr. Desir expliquait nous ça. Haïtien campé pour liberté. Yo engagé idée liberté, and they say kounya fon libérer Haïti encore de non Jésus. Yo besoin craser Voodoo. Yo te fait plusieurs croisades dans le nord, dans le site Bois Caiman, etc. En pile de blosailles, en pile problème. So, moi, te tracé mouvement ça, and ça te email listservs and digitization. So, mythologie ça vraiment went viral. It starts in the 90s when this dissertation was published and this new narrative starts to circulate. And it's a lot of, as you know, pile haïtien connaît ça. And you can read this article I wrote or even download it for free at this link. Merci en pile, Dr. Celucien. So that's the gist of what I discovered. And again, m'pa d'accord avec narrative ça, m'pa défendre aucune religion, ok? M'pa défendre le droit de toute religion, de tout le monde dans n'importe religion, mais yo pas défendre droit de monde, yo pas faire violence, etc. Même pas défendre narrative ça.
Okay, merci un pile, Dr. McAlister. So let's go back to Dr. Paul.
Docteur, m'pa konon sou permettre moi faire 2-3 jours sous la même lancée a. Parce que me Desir a fait l'exposé nan, sou te permettre moi m'ta rebondir sur question là. Ne vle faire exposé nan, il peut rebondir sur question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma bref, c'est un complément d'information par rapport avec ça.
Ma pour retourner à vous-même. Vous comprenez?
Ah,
ma pour retourner à vous-même. Moi, besoin de peur. Ma pour retourner à vous-même.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I read it for you.
Okay. Okay. I have okay. Dr. Paul Mocombe. All right. Well, let's talk about the historical evidence. Now you're gonna put your historical hat on.
You want me to add to this debate, brother?
Yes, sir. Is there a concrete historical evidence that on the night of August 14, 1791, that some of our African ancestors were possessed by the Voodoo Loa Ogun and Ezra Lee to empower the enslaved population to fight their oppressors and put an end to chattel slavery? Comme répéter ça en créole, est-ce que li gen évidence historique dans soirée ça 14 août 1791 te gen un esclavio qui te possédé en pile monde dit par Ogun et Ezuli et énergie ça yo te ba yo force pour yo te ka goumer avec oppresseur yo et pour yo capable de libérer tête yo de esclavage. Ah, Dr. Mocombe.
Premier bagay, fascinating debate between Dr. McAlister and Laurent. I want to débat because donc Charlene dit Voodoo pas une religion in the sense nous garder Christianity. Really, Voodoo is a form of science. Mode de vie, to quote Max Beauvoir. Problem nous vient gagner, c'est the interpretation of the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman. Parce que in American history, we don't start, we have quote unquote mythos associated with American history as well. Paul Revere's Ride, all of these foolishness, Christmas addicts, you run on one bagay to which constitute the constitution of American society. Problem moving game is the interpretation of the Haitian Revolution and through the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman. Donc, African yo vin faire cérémonie, it's a religious ceremony. Après, that's the end. The voices are silent from the rest of the revolution. Ou vin gen Pétion, ou vin gen Desir, Toussaint, who would take hold of the revolution and lead Haiti to its independence in 1806. This is problematic. We shouldn't look at Bwa Kayiman as though it was just one ceremony that happened on one night, and that was the end of the African participation in the revolution, and it would take the Creole blacks and the mulattoes to eventually Banu independence. No, what Bwa Kayiman signifies historically is the role that the Africans play and continue to play throughout the revolution. This is important because when we look at the history of Haiti, lors de l'évolution, ou vin gen un moment when Haiti is about to declare its independence, the final battles leading up to the reconquering of the island by Napoleon. Vin gen a dispute on nèg créole yo, nèg milat yo avec africain yo. Parce que faut nous pas oublier, Napoléon voyait Pétion boyer pour réclamer Haïti pour la France. Dessalines, Christophe, Toussaint, nèg sa yo capitulated. C'est Africain yo who continued to fight from 1803 or 1802 to by 1806 until Christophe assassinated Sans Souci. C'est Africain yo who continued to fight against the French. We must not forget that. So nous commençons avec Africain yo, cérémonie Bwa Kayiman, abo pas attendre rien de Macaya, de Sans Souci, Moïse, next sa yo k'ap goumen pour établir pays Haïti. This is the problem that we have. The only time we hear the voice of the Africans is at the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman. Whether or not it's mythos, whether or not it's logos, that's irrelevant for me. It's irrelevant. The point is, if Bwa Kayiman existed, if that commences the Haitian Revolution with the Africans who, from the moment they landed on the island, were fighting for independence, were fighting for their liberation. We should not end their fight with the ceremony, historically, with the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman. We must trace their evolution throughout from 1791 to 1806. This debate between whether or not Bwa Kayiman was a myth, and the evangelicals want to, perform some sort of exorcism to remove it, that's irrelevant. To do so for me, and this is the only problem this is the only time I'll comment on this debate between Laurent and Elizabeth. The problem for me is the evangelical movement not only attempts to erase Bwa Kayiman, but in attempting to erase Bwa Kayiman, you're also silencing the Africans, because I do not subscribe to the understanding that the interests of the Africans were the same as the interests of Mundankou Pétion, Intérêt, Moun Desaline. No, this was a form of racial vindicationism. For nous pas oublier, many of the African leadership were assassinated by the Creole blacks and the mulatto elites. So going intégrer, that's different. And Bwa Kayiman captures that interest. And in my work, this is what I try to highlight: the interest, the socio-economic interest represented by the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman. So whether or not it's mythos or logos, whether or not there's historical evidence, because you get into so much mythical reconstitution of the ceremony. As Laurent pointed out, there's been so many different interpretations of the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman. You don't even know where to start to demystify or demythologize whether or not it is a myth. You don't know where to start. And not only that, and I will conclude with this: whether or not Bwa Kayiman took place is irrelevant. The fact that, as Elizabeth pointed out, they gen plusieurs congrès africains yo t'a fait. Même j'entends aux États-Unis, they gen Nat Turner's Rebellion. C'est pas une seule cérémonie, they gen plusieurs. But for me, the importance of Bwa Kayiman is that it signifies a socio-economic difference between sa African yo te vle versus sa nèg milat yo nèg créole yo blanc te vle pour pays de Haïti. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Mocombe. Now, let's go with Dr. Desir, right? In the same line of thought. Do you believe our African ancestors would have been free, abolish slavery, and create the new nation of Haiti without this supernatural intervention, especially the support of the Voodoo community in colonial Haiti? Bon, me répéter ça. Est-ce qu'on croit en cet Africain nous? Yo t'a libéré tête yo t'a aboli esclavage, yo t'a fondé Haïti sans intervention supernaturelle. Et spécialement, m'a parlé de support communauté vaudouan dans Saint-Domingue. Et bon, if you have a question, you can just type your question in the chat box, then we come back to your questions. Okay, so des questions, je sais que questions là, les que n'a fait Q&A, we'll come to those questions. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's this whole idea, the supernatural, and that term within itself is problematic. I think that, we ourselves, have to demystify our understandings of what a Voodoo consciousness is versus a religious practice. I am not certain, but I don't know what other community practice was happening in that time, other than liberation and a consciousness of Voodoo as an epistemology, and we had to get free. And so, there was an understanding, just like in Egypt, all other places, there was a consciousness of people creating what we perceive as magic, but that was there every day. So I think when we think about Voodoo, Voodoo is an environmentalist understanding. We know how to use the 4 elements, and we become the 5th. And we are able to navigate that like the first peoples on this earth knew how to do. You know, and when I'm hearing the conversation, I mean, even the Bible itself wasn't written until maybe 100 years after the events happened. So as we sit back and try to understand how did, you know, what is the story of Bwa Kayiman, there are many stories from many angles, the angle of the women, the angle of the workers, the angle of the children. All people struggled in this battle. The men, you know, there was an understanding that was happening, and we have to understand that. And who writes the stories? You know, Baina Below, one of my mentors, she writes about the women of the revolution. This is not something that just happened overnight. Remember, it was over a decade of fighting. It was over the decade of hiding. If anything, maybe the Bwa Kayiman was the Legba Atibon, was the crossroads that no longer. And this was a plan, the planning that happened for hundreds of years. You know, it's the resilience, you know, and the resistance. Resilience sometimes pissed me off. Resistance of the people that they were not human. We are once again in this consciousness, what is our humanity? Who is deemed human? When I was a doctoral student at Harvard, I was very young, 25, the youngest in my class, and I said, I am going to do a doctorate on the psychosocial development of Haitian children. I found over 500-600 books, pamphlets, cassettes, all on Haiti, the majority of which was in Voodoo. I don't know if I'm a Guinness scholar. I don't know if my ancestors put that in my path. And all of the research stopped in the 80s when the fundamental Christianity began. You know, and I don't want to, I'm writing a book now. We have an anthology with Celucien and Dr. Lewis,
Hey.
You know, and like it's in conversation with Christianity and Voodoo and all of its understanding. At the end of the day, we are Haitian. C'est Haitien nous. And how Haitien walk, nous gon fierté, la zone, right? And so when we think about all of these things, we have to understand the collectiveness. Why is Voodoo as a religion vilified? And it has changed over time. The same Voodoo that happened at Bwa Kayiman is not the same Voodoo when we have a populace in Haiti that is majority under 25. There's an evolution that happens with the consciousness of religion, but the fundamental attitude is how do we exist in nature? So right now, the very environment, the very ground of Haiti, which is the true Laku, is being demolished, raped, and pillaged. And we have to understand like what is happening. So for me, as someone that I was born in Haiti and I came to the US at 3, and my grandmother says, you know, so when you think about that, you know, you have to understand we have divinity. The divinity that we have is that we could connect to the natural elements and manipulate it and work with it and embrace it and nourish it. One of the crazy things that happened, the mapu trees were getting cut down. And within that ideology, why is Haiti deplenished? The very land, Haiti Toma, is being raped once more, is being colonized once more. And we have to understand the only success that we can gauge with Bwa Kayiman, there was one consciousness that we have to come back to. There was one understanding. You know, my father, who's almost 80, he talks about, you know, we all lived together. There was someone Voodooism, someone Catholic, you know, the Protestant faith, I don't know, it's almost 250 years. We all lived together, we ate together, we went to school together, it was no whoop whoop, you know? And so, you know, right now, we still don't have enough doctors, we still don't have enough healers, and people go to the root. As a psychologist, you know, I'm studying the understanding of a Haitian consciousness. Wade Noble's one of the founders of Black psychology, has trained a group of us. I'm creating Voodoo psychology to use our own language. We are traumatized, we have massive trauma. And we have been bamboozled. Of course it's evil. Every my beautiful Black woman's skin, they call me something else. I'm evil, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm all of it. I'm all of it, we are all of it. So yes, I am so proud that I am someone that is perceived as a threat because of my very consciousness that I identify as a Haitian mumble. I was born here, I was raised here. So my consciousness, and I'm an academic, my consciousness is very direct and how I cross over with Voodoo. But at the end of the day, we are not outside of ourselves. We are inside of ourselves. That is the secret. When you exist with your center and you know how you exist within yourself, and no one can filter you, no one can push you. I am all the elements. I am my ancestor's daughter. I am the consciousness of Voodoo. So we have to begin to understand and demystify nonsense. I'm not supernatural. I'm the essence of what my creator wanted me to be, with the lois as the principles of how we exist.
Wow. How do we exist in nature? I like that. So this is, okay. We're going to turn to Professor Laurent to elaborate on the question of the different interpretations, what he calls myth, you know, foundational myth of the Haitian nation. Après ça, we're going to take questions from the audience before you guys close with your last comment, the last question. Is that okay? Good. Okay. Professor Laurent? OK.
Là.
Je vais continuer à élaborer sur sujet différents interprétations.
Et merci beaucoup que vous avez la parole. Moi, je voulais courir et professeur Elisabeth McAlister et vous poser des questions sur comment et protestants interpréter cérémonie Bwa Kayiman, à comment vaudouisants eux-mêmes ont interprété cérémonie Bwa Kayiman. C'est des compléments d'information par rapport avec ça, professeur Elisabeth McAlister. Beaucoup d'articles, même supposé peut-être que les rapporter ça. C'est j'en ai dit là, protestants haïtiens, ouais, cérémonie Bwa Kayiman, qu'on pacte que haïtiens étaient avec le diable. Pour eux-mêmes, nous sommes très mal démarrés. Parce que au lieu de nous servir bon Dieu, nous préférons faire alliance avec Satan. Et c'est tellement vrai que il y a des croisades qui ont été même organisées sur le site Bwa Kayiman. Je vais permettre de citer un support de cours de professeur Jean-Yves Blot, qui est disponible sur Google, dans les classes des sciences sociales, culture haïtienne ou abrégé de cours. Côté professeur Jean-Yves Blot a rapporté qu'en 1997, les protestants haïtiens ont organisé une croisade, ils ont allé marcher sur ce site. Yes. Manqué une faute. Pardon? Allô?
Non, mais continue à parler, oui. Continue à parler, Emmanuel.
L'abrégé de cours culture haïtienne qui est disponible sur les classes des sciences sociales. Il y a un lobo qui était pété entre vaudouisants haïtiens et protestants haïtiens sous le site Bwa Kayiman. Et en 1998, si l'État haïtien n'a pas intervenu, tu as bien un bain de sang. Et m'a fait remarquer que tout récemment, alors, Jean-Paul Elisabeth McAlister a dit là, pour me défendre aucune religion, mais m'a fait remarquer que tout récemment, Grégory Toussaint a une déclaration qu'on ça le fait. Alors que, non, premier temps, il dit que nous faisons alliance avec le diable parce que nous faisons sacrifice de cochon. Le deuxième temps, il dit que c'est grâce à la prière que Toussaint l'ouverture était fait que nous arrivons à sauver Haïti, que nous arrivons à gagner l'indépendance. Et le pape Col, Chavan jeune, comme pasteur, dans la même logique là, et m'a rappelé que pasteur Pat Robinson, en 2000, a dit que Haïti est son pays qui maudit un tremblement de terre parce que dans la cérémonie Bwa Kayiman, nous avons un pacte avec le diable. Donc, c'est pour moi que la caille. Protestants haïtiens, ils ont un discours très intolérant et surtout par rapport à mes fondateurs, ça qui c'est Bwa Kayiman. On deuxième bagaille, et deuxième fois des questions, comment vaudouisants même Noël, pas oublier que il y a une version concurrente qui dit c'est au moins deux versions de cas dit, une qui dit c'est pas une cérémonie, et c'est pas une cérémonie, c'est un congrès politique, donc il n'y a pas aucun aspect religieux. Il y a qui dit c'est Bwa Kayiman, donc c'est pas Bwa Kayiman, donc c'est il pas gagné de vaudou, sont marqués musulmans. Pour vaudouisants haïtiens, Bwa Kayiman c'était une cérémonie mystique, politique, religieuse, spirituelle. Pour eux, c'est point de départ. Peuple haïtien, c'est à partir de cérémonie Bwa Kayiman que culture haïtienne n'a pas de naissance. Et on va prendre temps et petit Jean Price, lui, Price dans les maîtres de l'aube, considéré 14 août 1791, même s'il va vaudouisant, bon, bah, en tout cas, bah, connaît, il développe une référence scientifique, dans les maîtres de l'aube, lui, presque considéré 14 août 1791, date cérémonie Bwa Kayiman comme naissance culture haïtienne, et la caille vaudouisant, ils sont culte de mémoire, à tel point que vaudouisant même vont chanter, puis ils chanté, le après fait référence avec Bwa Kayiman, a fait référence à Boukman. Et tout le monde connaît que chanter ça dit, il y a une version de l'île de Azor qui dit Boukman, non, l'en Bwa Kayiman, nous, mais nous pas détourner, on l'en Bwa Kayiman. Papa Boukman, nous est assez. Papa Boukman, nous arrivons jusqu'au Tobuto, pays à diviser, la famille dos à dos. Nous pas te fait Bwa Kayiman pour une servir étranger. Donc, sous ça, m'paie.
Très bien. Merci en pile, professeur. Bon résumer pour our Anglophone English speaking audience. Okay. So Emmanuel gives two interpretations, the Vaudouist interpretation and the Protestant evangelicals interpretation. Protestant Christians have claimed there was a pact made with the devil himself, an alliance which our African ancestors made on August 14, 1791, which they sealed with the blood of a pig. Emmanuel also mentioned a recent conversation, I think it was a sermon, which I also listened to by Pastor Gregory Toussaint, a superstar pastor in Miami, in which he said that, actually he countered the Vaudouist narrative. For the Voodoo, the Vaudouist interpretation goes like this. In fact, Emmanuel talks about two versions. There is a group that says there was no religious ceremony. It was just a political conference. But there was another group that says Bwa Kayiman was a mystical, religious, political, and spiritual ceremony in which the Haitian culture, okay, so they grounded the birth of Haitian culture on the Bwa Kayiman event. So it's a place of memory in the Voodoo community. And Professor Emmanuel cites a song, a Voodoo song, in which they reference Boukman and Bwa Kayiman. Okay, so we're going to take questions from our audience. Let's go to the chat first. Let's see what's there. Okay, I have a question for Professor Laurent. Where is the first mention of Vixama and where did that story come from? Papa Max Beauvoir taught it and Aristide wrote about it in this dissertation, but before the era. Okay, Professor Laurent, question pour vous-même, qui côté, soit que dans histoire ou bien oral, qui côté non Vixama, Jean-Baptiste Vixama le grand mentionné, côté histoire ça sorti.
Comme I'm a beginner in English.
Non, tu m'as parlé en créole. Oui.
D'accord. Et ça m'a dit que pour la première fois, nous avons des versions ça, de Jean-Baptiste Vixama le Grand. C'est un folkloriste haïtien qui est Mercedes Foucault Guignard, qui gagne comme pseudo d'État, tout le monde connaît les sonoms d'État, les écrits, plusieurs livres, on peut connaître un tome 2, mais pour la première fois, on va peut-être parler de ça, c'est dans le livre qui est La légende des rois du Voodoo haïtien, qui est publié pour Haïti, édition imprimeur de Sim de bonne mémoire 1993, mais une dernière version qui est publiée en 2004. Donc, là, c'est pour la première fois que nous attendons parler de version ça. L'autre monde qui va le reprendre, on va gagner ancien président et haïtien, président déchu Jean-Bertrand Aristide, qui a reprendre version ça. Alors, il faut me faire remarquer que les Déïta a parlé de ça, il a relé la légende des lois du vaudou haïtien. Donc, il était bien, la peine préciser que c'est une légende que il a rapporté. Et donc, les mêmes méthodes, bon, bref, je ne vais pas pour me dire tout le bagaille, mais je vais faire remarquer que le monde qui va le reprendre, c'est Jean-Bertrand Aristide qui a reprendre notre. Allô?
Vous m'êtes continué.
Oui, la propre la plagier d'État, et la intégré dans le texte, quoi qu'il est Umaya Wananda, The Spirit of the Road en 2006. Et il y a l'autre monde qui peut le reprendre, qui peut le populariser, parmi lesquels ancien artiste Max Beauvoir. Mes côtés, et version Jean-Baptiste Vixama, le grand sorti de Déïta, repris par Aristide, repris par Max Beauvoir, sans vérification scientifique.
Okay. Let me say that for our English-speaking audience. The first reference is from a book called La Légende des lois du Voodoo by Mercedes Foucault. And when that person made reference to Jean-Baptiste Vixama as the sacrifice, not the pig, he said that he was a myth, a legend. That means that was not based on historical evidence. The second person to reference that was Aristide, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, in his doctoral dissertation, Spirit of the Words in 2006. In fact, I just published a new book on Aristide, a political and theological introduction, okay? So the third person was Artsi Max Beauvoir, who mentioned Jean-Baptiste Vixama le Grand as the sacrifice of the Bwa Kayiman event. Again, Professor Emmanuel said there are no scientific proofs or evidence those authors or thinkers provided to support that thesis. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Discursive Eurocentric ideas of Christian metaphysics versus discursive Afrocentric ideas of Voodoo religion, integration between the two or imposition of the former over the latter. I'm trying to understand this question. FN, this is from F, discursive Eurocentric ideas of Christian metaphysics. Paul, I think this question is probably for you. You're the philosopher here.
Yes. So what he's saying is we're juxtaposing two metaphysical systems, the Afrocentric and the Eurocentric metaphysical system. I don't subscribe to, most of it for me is pseudoscience anyway. Epistemologically speaking, for me, there's no such thing as an Afrocentric or Eurocentric system. That doesn't mean that there's not a need to demythologize the epistemology of the sciences as it emerged out of Europe, or the epistemology that the Africans brought with them. Because part of the problem is the epistemology that the Africans brought out of Africa into the New World, quote unquote, New World, also underwent there's a need to demythologize both systems, or demystify both systems. Because you have to remember, the notion of an Afrocentric epistemology and a Eurocentric epistemology, when the Europeans were constituting their epistemology, philosophically, the epistemological turn in Western philosophy begins with René Descartes. And prior to that, there's this notion of philosophy as natural philosophy, and then there's an epistemological that turn that takes place in Western metaphysics. So therefore, the understanding was their position represented an object. How do we know about the objective world? So their position was a universal. After when they conceived or conceptualized about the world, they did not do it in terms of I'm a Black man universalizing about the system. The notion of Blackness did not occur on that level. They were trying to understand the science and the ontology, the epistemology, and the axiology by which they ought to recursively organize and reproduce their world. Now, race is interjected with racial slavery, racial chattel slavery, which is a justification for the mode of production, the capitalist mode of production. Is slavery was used to justify the mode of production and the enslavement of Black people. With the introduction of racial slavery, you get this racialized understanding of epistemology, which I don't subscribe to. As I mentioned before, I'm a logical empiricist or a logical positivist. I believe there's an objective world, and we can know, contrary to Kant, about the objective world. So this notion of juxtaposing a Eurocentric ontology and epistemology and an Afrocentric epistemology, for me, is problematic because, yes, there's a need to demythologize and demystify what happened under slavery with Western epistemology, but we should not continue this notion that there is such a thing as an Afrocentric epistemology. Our ancestors didn't think their epistemology was based on their race. That's problematic. That's absurd.
Dr. Mocombe, qui ça dit là? Mes amis, un peu de philosophie, oui. Gros cause. Thank you, Dr. Mocombe. There are two people who raised their hands. Okay, Maudelyne Duval, go ahead and ask your question.
Merci, Dr. Lou, pour l'opportunité ça. Moi, les questions, c'est pour Dr. Mocombe. Mais avant tout, moi, je veux remercier Dr. McAlister et professeur Laurent pour participation et que moi apprends à pile à soi de eux-mêmes. Parce que là, moi, j'ai appris à Haïti. Bwa Kayiman pour moi, c'était un événement. C'était un événement historique. C'est pas un événement religieux pour moi, c'est un événement historique. Et que les regardez Konya, tout ça a changé, que Dr. McAlister vraiment connecté, côté que idéalité ça a sorti depuis genre que c'est un pacte, c'est on fait avec le diable, et c'est tout ça que nous devons et Dr. McAlister. Question pour Dr. Africains, les créoles et mulatto. Moi, je vais définir si ça vraiment comme ça qui monte pour vous. Et puis tout, deuxième partie, est-ce que vous n'avez aucun référence au Cameroun sur le genre de qui parlait de Africains que vous mentionnez que c'est pas vraiment dit pour bataille là. So if you have any reference for the African that you talk about that not credited for the white or the so making references, that would be great.
Wait a minute, bagay. Am I muted? No. Okay. Wait a minute, bagay. Let nous l'histoire Haïti, nous where independence or the fight for revolution, tant que c'est son un grand intérêt qui te gagné, ça veut dire nèg milat représenté par Moundakou Pétion, Rigaud, Boyer. Next time, même j'avais Dessalines qui représentait nèg créole yo, même j'avais Moundakou Makaya, aussi yo tout même intérêt c'est libération et indépendance. Ça va, c'est pas vrai. Faut nous C'est ça que nous besoin a political economic history of the Haitian Revolution. Monde kou Laurent Dubois écrit tout ça. Monde kou Laurent Dubois, Avengers of the New World, Ali, Haiti, the Aftershock of History. Même Jean Casimir écrit tout ça. Ça, Casimir fait, living tourner poser intérêt africain, il relève un counter plantation system to distinguish it from intérêt nègre créole avec intérêt nègre milat yo. Ça veut dire, les comprendre l'histoire Haïti, faut nous pas mettre tous les droits intérêts non même chose dire yo tout est libération. And this is important parce que Haiti's struggle today stems from the unresolved issues from 1806. Les assassiné Dessalines, majorité Africains, they moved to the mountains in the provinces. C'est là où where the concentration of Voodoo in the mountains of the country. So what you have is there's a struggle between inherit land from Toussaint and who exist, and because they weren't large plantation owners like the Creole blacks, what happened is there's a struggle between a protectionist, mercantilist ideology, which the Creole blacks supported the black nationalism. So therefore, they wanted to protect their agricultural interests, and they did that through a form of black nationalism that, in their mind, represented the interests of the Africans in the mountains and in the provinces who moved to the mountains and the provinces following the assassination of Dessalines. So, and then the mulatto elites who came in, and their concentration was more so in grounded in liberalism like we find today. So the continuous struggle between this mercantilist black nationalist ideology and a liberal, what we can call neoliberal ideology contemporarily, dates back from 1806. And this is why it's so important that we represent the interest. And I will end it with this. There's a very important instance in the Haitian Revolution in which Dessalines is trying to get the African generals, McAlister and Celucien, to join him to fight. And this is after the Treaty of McAlister with Haitian, in which he made a deal with the mulattoes and the Creole blacks to fight against the French, in which he sends Christophe to meet with Celucien to get Celucien to fight against, and Michel Touillot in his work documents this, as well as Laurent Dubois as well. And Jean Casimir does the same, in which he tries to get the African leadership to fight with the Creole blacks against the French, and Celucien refuses. And when Celucien says neg Creole, neg Milat, nem Jantahoum, neg Blanc, they represent the same interests. So this leads to a revolt, and Christophe finally assassinates Celucien over the leadership. Now, Michel Touillot gets into the mysticism and the cultural anthropology as to why he assassinates Celucien and names his palace after Celucien. This is to bury the legacy of Celucien's leadership in the role of the revolution. And this is why it's so important that we understand and I get everybody gets hyped about the spiritual and want to say, hey, Hotep, Aibobo, blah, blah, blah. I'm not into it. I'm into that. I'm more interested in the political, economic, and materialist reason as to why we have the revolution and why Haitians are struggling today, and why Haitians were the first group of people to do what contemporarily? Raise the Russian flag, because they realized their struggle is tied to the Russian struggle against neoliberalism, as it was back in 1806, a fight against mercantilism and neoliberalism of the time as well.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to take two more questions, and Dr. Desir is going to make a comment on her last visit. to the Bwa Kayiman. So now, Dr. McAlister mentioned the Jean-Baptiste Vixama narrative is well known in Voodoo secret society. Okay, let's come in. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yeah, this is Cody. I think I was the one who mentioned that the secret societies are very clear about Vixama's role. So I was very surprised that Professor Laurent said that it's new, parce que c'est pas mal qui nouveau du tout. Donc, combat que nous pas, et c'est pour ça que je me dis que historien haïtien ont grand pile travail et puis capable de faire, parce que il y a un groupe qui kembe comme si qui get tout record of the country, qui get sous besoin de connaître qui s'est passé dans qui zone qui l'est. It is the secret societies. Now, how many of the academics have had an opportunity to go sit down and talk to these groups, to go over their work, because they don't usually release their files to their documents to anyone. You have to be known in the community, you have to be trusted, and then they will allow you to see documents. But they are very clear. I mean, if you look at, and there's a Ougan in Cabaret, and also an academic, Fouchard Justinville, I'll add his name in the chat, who had an opportunity to go and meet with members of the secret societies. And Vic Samar his name is all over the documents within the secret societies. Now, what's keeping more Haitian intellectuals from going into and trying to engage these groups, that's a whole other Zoom. But I want to be clear about that Vic Samar is not a new entity, a new person, and someone qui l'a depuis commencement et connaissance que il était là et il était fait sacrifice qui te permettent pour le royaume venir même plus engagé, plus prendre force. Parce que son bail est capable de tuer un cochon, mais c'est le monde qui fait le grand sacrifice, comme Jésus par eux, ça veut dire un gros bagaille non mystique. Donc, pour moi, c'est que grand pire travail que l'historien haïtien doit faire, et grand pire bagaille que je crois que comme c'est dynamique que Dr. Paul parlait, il est toujours là, il a toujours influencé nous. Malheureusement en termes négatifs, qui fait que, pour moi, qui fait que nous pas fait travail que nous besoin faire. Mais travail ici, c'est toute société, tout le monde qui doit engager là-dedans. Merci.
Okay, merci, Pils. Thank you for the comment. Nelson, we're going to take Nelson, then admin iPhone. Okay, Nelson had his hand raised. Is Nelson still here? No? Okay.
Yes, sir. I am still here, and
go ahead, Nelson.
I'll stay off video if that's okay. Very quickly, I just wanted to ask my question, but before that, I wanted to make a statement for the brother who was speaking before, and he said, "Well, how do we know why is Haiti in the situation that it is now?" And we all kind of know that, right? We can see the payouts to France. We can see the pulling of all of the wealth since that time out of Haiti between three superpowers, and we know who they are. But we can see all that. But I'd like to go back to my man. Oh gosh, I just had it. He was the mayor in Port-au-Prince at one point, saying, in one of his songs, he goes, "Ak d'indépendance nou enterré, et ça fait nous dans la vie, n'a demandé." That is the way I always answer that question when people ask.
Mano
Shalmine. Thank you. I haven't listened to the album in a while. It's amazing. My question was to all the historians in here, and I'm a I guess a couch historian, okay, because I've been studying Haiti on my own since I was like in high school. Came here when I was 7, did elementary school in Little Haiti, all of that. So my question is, with all the cover-ups, look, even right now, the governor of Florida is looking to change history. Guys, in 20, 30 years, the children today or the adults at that time will know something different than what we know. They'll know less than what we know. And we know even less based on who told the story of Haiti of 1803, 1804, and so on, and who wrote it out. How do we get to the essence of what we're trying to find out? Can we really get that? Is that information out there? Where is it? What?
Okay, who wants to respond to that question? Anybody?
No, I only want to piggyback on that. Thank you, Nelson. And my question, and I want to, because his question furthers my question, and that is, how do enter our studies into the canon? Because it remains important. Our children need to know, all children need to know who they are, what they are, how they operate, how they think.
That is busy. Go to your room. No.
They need to learn. I would have just brought them in the host of this event. This has been great. All right. Thank you, Dr. Mocombe. Thank you, Dr. Desir. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Thank you, Dr. McAlister. And Laurent, I'm sorry, I don't know his title, but thank you. But it is important that our children know and learn. And I wanted to know what, as an academic community, we can do to further increase visibility in the canon.
Well, Dr. Desir has been doing some amazing work.
I know.
In Haiti. So I don't know.
I know, she is my mentor.
Well, I'm a research professor and a psychologist and educator. So, I mean, for the last 20 years, I've been creating curriculum for children, Haitian children, to understand Haitian epistemology. And, I do longitudinal studies. So I have students that I've worked with for 7 years, 5 years, and to see, like, the parents, whether they're Protestant, Catholic, Protestant, they give me Voodoo, they give me their kids, because they can't believe, like, using their psychosocial, spiritual is a very important framework that they excelled. Grades. I had kids now working for NASA, went to the White House, all sorts of different professions. And for the last 10 years, I've been running these camps grounded in Haitian epistemology with the lois as principles in Haiti as well. The thing is, we can pontificate, but, it comes to a point as, what is our Bwa Kayiman now? And how are we going to strategize? I had the call, I went to Bwa Kayiman last year, and it was very important. And I made a commitment as a milestone in my academic career as a full professor to go to Bwa Kayiman. And what happened there was quite extraordinary, because I sat with people of the community, and they gave their rendering and their histories and the griot that we are, the stories of how this became. And the town is desolate. This should be our Mecca. The town is suffering, desolate, and poor. And we talked tonight about Bwa Kayiman. How do we connect to the real community where that began? And I did not know that the Congress of Santa Barbara, it happened in a cave. The people in the community, for 2 days, I didn't call, I didn't tell them I was coming, I just arrived. They brought me to the cave, something extraordinary, pilgrimage, to see the vibration in that space, how they honored a place for the female energy, how they honored the place for the masculine energy in this cave. And in this cave, we began to do ceremony together and call consciousness of our energies and pray for Haiti land. We need to be doing those collective work as well. And souvenance, You know, as we think there's not documentation, there's not documentation for the seekers that come to exploit and not give back. They have kept a rendering of the ceremonies that happened, the songs, the prayers, and they do this ceremony every couple of years and reenact it and open it to the public. So we have to understand that our organic intellectuals still exist in Haiti, those who hold the true knowledge, and you gotta come with respect. You gotta come with honor to ask and be received. It took me 5 years before I was accepted in any Voodoo community that I approached. They need to see your consistency. So, I say tonight, let us have a collective breath. Let us have a collective understanding of the significance of Bwa Kayiman right now. And what will be our contribution to this land that has given a consciousness of liberation and in collaboration with South and North American Black folks, Pan-African folks. We celebrate, but please think of your ancestor, your ancestral line, because someone in your timeline, in your time frame, imagined your existence. They imagined, my grandmother did not read and write, but she wanted a philosophe. And for her, I went to Harvard. So let's think about, let's honor our ancestors. Let's honor those who sacrificed their lives and gave up their lives. And let us think of what will we give up to continue the vibration of Bwa Kayiman.
Thank you, Dr. Desir. Okay, guys, we have 9 minutes. Hold on.
I still didn't get to, hello? I didn't get to ask my question.
Let me talk. Thank you. So we have 9 minutes left, and admin iPhone has been patiently waiting. This is the last question or comment we're gonna take. Then we're gonna give each panelist an opportunity to say the last word. All right, iPhone. Admin.
Okay, merci beaucoup, me salue. Hello, merci beaucoup, me salue tout le monde. Là, thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. You are a solid, calm spirit, and you create this wonderful gathering for us to talk about the mother of humanity. The mother of liberation is what Bwa Kayiman brought to the world. What Bwa Kayiman represents is the only one thing like it on the globe. And I love so much what everyone is saying, even though they're a bit disconnected in things, but sometimes you got to get to the meat of the point. And I just have a couple of things to say because there's so much information. One is, we got to remember that like the church wrote papal bull that said, you can't enslave humans, but you can enslave Black people. And with that is the killing and the torture of them and the amounts of people tortured. And then to respond to these kinds of comments about pacts with the devil and just killing one pig or just, these kinds of things are so absurd that we give so much clout to, and we desire this kind of wanting to canonize, but canonization is almost always colonization, and this way that we've always been left out of the discourses. I'm a doctoral student in dance studies, so I studied the dance through the dances, the folkloric dances from Africa to the diaspora, the epistemologies, cosmologies, ontologies of these Black people. We have those ideas, and it's true, it's not divided by race, but it is divided by what you think of the human body as a temple, the way it itself communicates, the way that Dr. Desir is talking about the ceremonies that continue and have never stopped. Inside of those ceremonies is the communication, not just from a vocal way, but a corporeal way, a vibrational way. We have never not talking about this. How could we be having this conference right now if the Africans were not talking about these topics? So I just want to, I guess the final thing the book that I really like is like Black Marxism, because it talks about how we're left out of so much. What we're talking about, our points of views the way we track history, the way we see the world, our worldview is so far left out of academic conversations that we can just start pontificating. And then the culture of discourse is to prove yourself right or wrong. And then the seed is lost, which is Bwa Kayiman, as this mother of humanity, is something that we should be taught, not just for Haitian students, all people on the planet. So thank you so much for having this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, panelists, you're going to be brief. No more than 40 seconds. Tell us your final words. Who wants to start? Dernier mot, panelist you.
I'll go. There's
Okay.
one of our songs that opens ceremony. I'll just do one line. Nous toutes ces anges, zanj embarrassés, aïda we do, dambala we do, nous toutes ces anges. So when on the battlefield, when a woman was asked, who are you that want your liberation, that want your freedom? And she said, we're all angels. Look around you, we're warriors. Zanj in the African religion means warrior. And in the Christian ange, you know, we are all sacred warriors. Look around you, and we still remain in resistance. We are still warriors in the battle against white supremacy and Black liberation.
Thank you. I think I can have Dr. Desir as my pastor. Preaching all day long. Okay. Paul, you want to go next?
Oh, sure. Well, I don't want to mess this up by being a little controversial and mess up new video here, but I'll end it with this. You know, someone disagreed with me about Eurocentrism, Afrocentrism. What people felt, you know, after grad school, when I was done with my doctorate, I had a chance to go to Russia. And the way they honored me, knowing that I was Haitian, was just unbelievable. And I had a professor tell me that, you know, we Haitians and Russians share a lot in common in terms of epistemology and metaphysics, ontology. And I say that to connect our current struggle with our past struggle, because we've been fighting a system that's been in place, what Emmanuel Wallerstein calls the capitalist world system, for 400 years, 400 plus years. Haitians have been fighting this struggle since they arrived in the New World. And we continue. We're one of the few people in the Caribbean, few people of African descent who continue this struggle against a world system that's antithetical to being, to existence, to metaphysics, to ontology. This capitalist world system threatens not only humanity, but the very place we need to survive. So we have to continue to struggle, and we have to form partnerships with Russia and see the Russian struggle as a continuation of our struggle from Bwa Kayiman. This is a continuation of the struggle for life, for existence. And I'll end with this. My fight, or how I pay homage to my ancestors, is I use the epistemology of my ancestors to contradict what is taught in physics and metaphysics. You know, I developed a theory called consciousness field theory, in which I use voodoo metaphysics to argue that there's a fifth force of nature, and consciousness is that fifth force of nature. And it took them 2 years ago to find out, yes, there is a fifth force of nature. Now it's just a matter of connecting that fifth force of nature to consciousness and give Dr. Mocombe his Nobel Prize, please, thank you. But this is a continuous struggle against a system that oppresses, that exploits, and threatens humanity. And our struggle is not unique. We share it with other people who are fighting. We have to make that connection. We have to look beyond race to make that connection. and Ukraine is a neo-Nazi fascist state. And I'll end with that.
Okay. Dr. McAlister, any concluding thought?
You know, I'll give up my time to the Haitian panelists and others who might want to speak. And I'll also say I'll stay on if anyone wants to have an after party more casual, because this is all so interesting and I've learned so much. Merci, Aibobo.
Professeur Laurent, mon dernier mot pour dire? Professeur Laurent?
I think he said he was disconnected, Lou.
Oh, okay. So, okay, let's, we thank our panelists, Dr. Mocombe, Dr. Desir, Dr. McAlister, and Professor Laurent for their time, their expertise on the subject matter. And you amazing audience, you did great, great questions, great comments. Again, happy Bwa Kayiman, have a safe night, take good care. Now, let me say one more last thing. The recording will be posted on the website of faithreasondialogue.com. It will also be posted on Facebook. Okay?
You gotta have it on YouTube, bro?
On YouTube, yeah, YouTube, I meant to say. YouTube, Facebook, faithreasondialogue.com. Thank you, everyone. If you want to hang out, go ahead and hang out.
If you could turn off, thank you. And if you could turn off the recording, we can hang out unrecorded.
Yes, let me do that.
Thank you, Dr. Lou.
Second.